Hey guys, welcome to Gamers Paradise. I'm Anthony Burns. This is Pete. My man moves are showing Von Pelt. We're getting off to a great start, aren't we?
Great start, Dave. Anyway,
Okay, so Pete, why don't you tell them what we're gonna do?
well, what we're going to do in this series, or this channel, is we're going to look at video games from a different perspective. We're going to tie in Christianity to our video games. For example, our first tie-in,
Street Fighter,
Street Fighter.
which we'll do a little bit later on.
Yes, I'll probably, at one point, show some video footage, but everyone's seen Street Fighter 2. In fact, to this day, there are plenty of tournaments held for Street Fighter 2. And it is the most relevant and best known Street Fighter besides Mortal Kombat, which came after Street Fighter.
Yeah, it did. Ironically enough, which most people would say Street Fighter didn't come first, but anyway,
There are those that are like that.
there are some that are historically illiterate.
They
have my pity.
Yes.
First of all, I get to do the handheld segment of this thing. I get to do the Atari handheld for you. This is the Atari handheld. It has over 70 games on it. We have everything from Pac-Man to bowling to how they put bowling on a 2D system. I don't know. But anyways, go ahead. Make a wise comment. You did the last time.
I honestly do think it's one of the first few things that Atari was known for. I don't know for sure.
Now, this thing costs $45 at Walmart, $50 at Target.
Well, that's just because Target's stupid.
I'm not going to comment.
Of course, my great aunt thinks that Target's
full of I'm the spiritual advisor on the thing, so...
My aunt has a few conspiracy theories about Target.
To scroll through here, you use the scroll button. Goes through all the games, and if you want to go through everything, you just use the arrow button, and it just goes forward. Until you reach the whole segment where you can pop in an SD card.
And you can download ROMs from the internet on there, get more Atari games. If you really wanted to, you can find the E.T. game, one of the worst Atari games, no demand. I've watched it.
Or you can find Air Raid, one of the other worst Atari games known to me.
Well, E.T. was made in 6 months, and it's worse shows.
Now, like I said, this is $40 at Walmart. I actually paid $38, believe it or not. They discounted it for me.
Because he found a cashier that really liked him for some reason. I personally don't see why.
I'm an old fart, maybe. I don't know. Now, I know what you're thinking as we're getting into the game segment of this thing. When are you going to start? So,
all right.
We have Street Fighter. In Street Fighter, we have the fact that everyone has different abilities. They're armed in different ways. When you go to war against enemies and see horses and chariots and an army larger than your own, you shall not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God is with you, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. That's Deuteronomy 21.
Deuteronomy 20, first one?
Yes.
It sounded kind of weird there. Just making sure.
Tired. Give me a break.
We're all a little tired.
Some more than others. Okay. The next one I have is Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 12. These verses detail the army of God, or armor of God. Thank God we have an editor. So, those are the tools that we have for our fight. In later segments, you're going to see us do a lot more stuff with this. So, Just a warning to
We're
those who
probably
aren't
gonna do
spiritually
more.
oriented.
Yeah, we're gonna try and tie, like I said, spirituality to every video game that we come across. We won't do games per se. There's more games than we can review, so I'm gonna do the topical approach and tie in multiple games with the same underlying theme. Like, for example, our next episode, we'll be talking a lot about spiritual vigilance,
Mhm.
and there are a few games that come off the top of my mind dealing with that particular topic. Some you've heard of, and some you might not have. Um, but hey, that's why we're gonna make this video.
We have another segment to this, and that is where each of us give our testimonies. I'll be doing this later on. Pete, it's your show
All
here.
right, we're gonna start with my testimony. I grew up in a spiritually centered family,
So did I.
and for example, my parents will deny this, but I lived it. I couldn't watch Scooby Doo movie shows. They didn't
Seriously?
like the monsters. No matter how many times I said it's
Wow.
Farmer Joe next door, they would not believe me. Maybe it's
I bet they
because
didn't
my
let you
brother,
read the Hardy Boys either.
my dad actually encouraged it. I have a few of his books.
Wow.
But they either Kevin was too young and we did everything together as kids, which makes more sense. But for whatever reason, we couldn't watch Scooby Doo. So, me being a smart little kid, I would go to my friend's house and watch it without
Sneaky
telling
little
them.
kid.
But
Sinner little kid. Perfect.
anyways,
in God's eyes.
I turned to Christ at the age of 7. Eventually, in my adult years, I at one point turned away from Christ.
Mhm.
It's a very common thing. A lot
Yeah,
of
it
people
is.
do, and eventually they find their ways back. And with that, I got married before
To the wrong person.
before I was married, and some would say the wrong person. My parents,
She was.
all of my friends included. I joined the military. I because it was something I mean I wasn't in in God's standing. I got medically separated, screwed up my shoulder and back, sleep
Now, here's the
apnea,
question.
PTSD.
What is your family's military history? I mean, I know you've got background, so.
Well, my grandfather or my
And
mom's dad was a medic in World War II in a MASH unit. I have family members going all the way back to the Civil War. I don't know if they were in North or South. I have a picture. I didn't know it was Civil War. It looked like someone waving at a train to me. My mom was like, "Oh, that's your relative so and so going to the Civil War." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Well, see, you and I have similar backgrounds in that both my granddads were Navy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My grandfather.
Granddad Reed was in the Pacific during World War II. Granddad Burns told all kinds of stories about fighting in World War II. Come to find out later on, he just jumped on a ship at the end of the war and came in. So,
Hey, you gotta do something.
gotta
sometime
throw
to
your
look
punches in somewhere, I guess.
to look known. I mean, I can see where he gets his humor from. He has a lot of us worry for him.
I definitely have Papa's sense of humor.
He has someone's sense of humor. I don't know whose it
It's
is.
gotta be Papa's because Papa wasn't all that subtle a lot of the
But,
time.
back with me though, my grandfather, my dad's father was in the Naval Reserves. They pretty much made lightened the naval fleet
Mm-hmm.
at the time of the Vietnamese Korean, whichever one happened first, obviously.
Korea.
And he decided, nope, not for me, so he got out. And my dad was the first generation to have missed the draft, and that's because his
Draft dodger.
well, he would be labeled as that. My dad, not in his intentions to do so, but my grandparents moved around like every 2 to 3 years.
And then he went to
And
Canada.
it was not entirely on his fault. He tried to, wherever he went, do the right thing and register. Mail was slow back then. What can you do?
Well, yeah.
I won't put it against him.
They were doing covered wagons.
And
then, so, yeah.
if my parents are watching this, just calling it as I see it. I'm not trying to be that person to stir the pot. I'm
Now,
not trying to at all.
let's go back to how you got in touch with video games in the first place. What?
Um, as a child and kid, my sister and brother and we would play video games. As a kid, I sort of didn't get the Nintendo Entertainment System. I had friends in my neighborhood who had it, so I can walk to their house and play it anytime I wanted. So I didn't really miss a whole lot. In fact, a lot of the games on the NES Mini Classic Edition were the games my friends
Well,
had.
yeah.
In fact, Star Tropics was one of my friend's older brothers. That was his baby. Nobody played that game but him. So I watched it played. I never got a chance. But anyways, I started with the Super Nintendo when the 64 had just released, and so my brother and sister, we would play Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Mario RPG, one of my favorite RPGs of all time, by one of my favorite companies. They're getting back in their roots with the Switch, with Octopath Traveler, with another thing that looks reminiscent of Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6, depending on where you grew up when that game came out. And basically, to me, growing up, since I mentioned I have PTSD, and for me to keep my mind as active as possible, I try to remember the days when I was a kid.
Now
It's very beneficial, very mutual, very therapeutic. I remember the time before my life got screwed up.
let's go to mental conditions here because you and I are kind of similar in that aspect.
Yes.
I have Asperger's syndrome. For those of you who don't get what that means I'm autistic. So, and I always have to have my mind going. If my mind's not going, I'm bored. So, I read a lot.
Yeah, it's what a lot of people have to do.
I write a lot. And I also play video games a lot too. I'm mostly a sports gamer though, so stuff like Tecmo Bowl. He's laughing.
Yes, I've
Tecmo
heard the
Bowl,
life of me can't get
Madden,
into sports.
those things were more my speed. I mean, I could figure them out and have them figured out in like 2 weeks. So that's where I was on that.
But basically, with me, like I said, I have PTSD from being in the military. Something happened, and for me, most people that you'll talk to, or I've encountered, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, they will probably be more likely to say that it's a particular thing of a movie or something in the store or just something just out of nowhere they hear on the radio that just triggers their PTSD. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it's not like that at all. It's a time
One
of the
time a
year.
year, yeah.
It's at the beginning of
I've heard of
September
this.
till the end of October,
I've
which
heard of this
means
happening with other people too. I
yeah,
used to tutor at UCO, and a couple of the people that I tutored had this, and they said it. There was never a trigger. There was more of a time of year for it.
yeah. And I've always both of my I'm married again with the wife I wish I found first, honestly. But they will both tell you that I'm really good with dates. I remember my kids' birthdays. I still to this day remember both of their birthdays.
Oh wow!
I remember our weddings when I got married. Um, so naturally, at this time of year, between the beginning of September to the end of October, it's hard to get into. Maybe at a different video, if someone in the comments is really curious, I'll tell a little bit about it. It's hard for me to talk too much about it without blubbering like a little girl. So I won't get into that.
Okay, Petrina.
Anyways, with spirituality and my testimony, eventually I went to emulation because, hey, I'm an average Joe that doesn't have a whole lot of space. So I like playing physical games if I can get them, but digital games, I can actually have more space on my device to play digital games than I do physical space for physical games.
I will be the first to admit I did get carried away with Medal of Honor when it first came out. My mom actually walked in and turned off the system, made me leave the room because I was sitting there killing Nazis. Yeah, but and For those of you all who know my mom, I'm not dissing her, okay? I'm actually thinking that this is like the point of my life when she actually became the funniest. So this is not me making fun of her by any means. This is me pointing out a funny moment.
With me, it was like Street Fighter 2.
Right.
My brother and I, one or the other of us, we would put each other in the corner.
You pin each other
and
in corners and beat each other up.
And Mom would hear, "Stop hitting me in the corner." So naturally, being a concerned parent, she'd come in, barge in the upstairs room, because that's where our gaming room was the upstairs room. Anyone who's been there, that's not my dad's room. Well, I won't get into that. Not working here. Anyway, so
yeah, let's not say we did.
Turn off the system, take the cartridge out, and say, "No one's playing this ever, period." So, needless to say, I didn't play Street Fighter 2 unless I was a clever little boy and snuck to my friend's house and played it on their Super Nintendo. Again, without calling home and telling them what I was doing.
Now, let's move on.
I had a point with emulation. I like emulation. You can find ROMs on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
They are not licensed. They are not good quality. They may work, they may not. For example, I have 3 knockoff emulation devices that I got from Amazon. They say, like, for example, Super Mario Brothers, the old Nintendo one. Everybody knows how it plays. One time it can work, and the next time it might not. Some games, Game Boy games such as Pokemon Leaf Green or Fire Red, you can play the games, but you cannot save. Again, they're not licensed. You don't know where they've been. However, Nintendo...
So don't touch them, because you don't know where they've been.
I wouldn't recommend it. In my experiences, it has shown that it doesn't work.
Yeah, I've
Nintendo has emulations, and they're licensed, and they're quality.
Right.
If you're going to get ROMs, make sure you get them from a licensed source. I'm not going to judge you. It's not my place to judge you. I just can speak of what happened to me in my personal experiences with this topic.
Now, when Pete came to me with the idea of doing this, I wanted to throw a whole bunch of other stuff in. The biggest one would be Christian movie review, because I think most people need a different pick of movie every once in a while.
Yeah,
who's sleeping with who and who's shot who. And
we mostly want to do video games. So from time to time, we'll do songs, we'll do movies. We might even do a magazine. Who knows? It's gamers' paradise. There's a play on words. So we're gamers. We do everything. Variety is the spice of life.
So our movie this week is the movie Ragamuffin. It is based on the life of awesome God songwriter Rich Mullins. This movie has some amazing parallels with another movie that just came out called I Can Only Imagine, where the writer of that song, Bart Millard, had a lot of trouble with forgiving Dad. Rich had a lot of trouble with that as well. He turned to drinking.
Smoking.
Yeah, he turned like I did to smoking. But
ironically enough, though, I like what they did with Ragamuffin more than I Walk the Line. I am a Johnny Cash fan.
I am too.
I don't like how they portrayed him.
Well, I
prefer they focused on his songs more than his drug habits.
Well, see,
because I don't even see it as a love story.
One of the interviews that they did with Joaquin Phoenix, he almost totally objected to going into filming that, and it was just simply because he didn't actually think he sounded like Johnny Cash, to tell you the truth.
That's kind of funny. He sounded like Johnny Cash. I would say is more of a demanding role.
He and Reese sounded more like Johnny and June. I mean, they were the perfect two people for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, on a scale from, I'll go from 1 to 10 on this. I'll probably give it about a 5.
When I was a kid,
like Sledgehammer, I do bullets, and right now I'm crying bullets. So let's.
We don't believe in perfect games.
No, we don't.
There's such a thing. There's no, in my opinion, There's others that may disagree. You're welcome to
I
your
mean,
opinion. Just be respectful.
as a guitarist, I can honestly say there's not a perfect guitar. You're never gonna find one.
There's no perfect songs. There's no perfect movies. There's no perfect games.
Although Pete heard me say that today that my Les Paul was perfect. Anyway,
that's his baby.
That's
Again,
my baby.
When you refer to your favorite
baby,
topic as your
yes.
baby, then all bets are off.
Yeah,
but basically,
all bets are off because Anthony got saved.
With video games, there's some that say there's a flawed masterpiece. I disagree that any game should be a masterpiece because, well, we're human. And humans, if you haven't noticed, we're not really perfect.
All right, so Pete, we're going to start off the RPG segment here.
Sure.
RPGs and teamwork. How does this work out? And how does it fit into the
We'll talk more about
realm?
it in a later episode, but we can touch on it here. Basically, with RPGs, every character, every creature or Pokemon creatures,
Pokemon,
they all have their own strengths. They all have their own weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
You gather all of their strengths to combat the enemy in front of you.
Right.
In Christianity, especially ministries, evangelical ministries, what have you, we all rely on everybody else.
Right.
It's the body of Christ, not the hand of Christ, not the arm, not the leg, not the head.
And the apostle Paul actually touches on this when he says the hand cannot say to the eye, I want to go it alone.
Yeah, and there's plenty of other places. Jesus mentions that we work better as a team. I can't remember. There's plenty of verses in Matthew in the New Testament where Jesus mentions that. But along with that topic of combating the enemy in Street Fighter, we were trying to do topical, but we're also trying to build off of each other in a fashion, if you want to look at it that way. But
Definitely.
You don't have to watch the first episode to understand the second episode.
Right.
But there's going to be the same topic of fighting the enemy. In Christianity especially, and if most people, you are seeing in this day and age, you're seeing corrupt judges more so. You're seeing corrupt cops.
Yeah.
Corruption and
the new Jennifer Garner movie.
Warfare.
The new Jennifer Garner movie, Peppermint's a perfect example because they show a corrupt judge who's been paid off by drug cartels to find two shooters who obviously killed her family guilty. So,
but all of this, we're bringing this up because in Revelation, these are signs of the end times. In my personal opinion, what happens at the dawn of apocalypse, I use air quotes because people misconstrue that. In layman's terms, it's basically the lifting of the veil. That's what that means. But the way I see it, in my opinion, I haven't met anyone who shares this opinion, it's sort of like a calendar. At the end of December, you get January.
Well,
at the end of Sunday, you get Monday.
Okay.
At the end of the apocalypse, you'll probably reset back to...
I'm going to cut in because I think the Apostle Paul Blair had this pegged. Because he actually...
The Apostle Paul Blair?
I call him what...
It's okay. It's okay.
If you all want a really good in-depth study of the book of Revelation, go to Fairview Baptist Church and see if you can find every copy that Pastor Paul Blair has ever done on that. Because he is very, very learned on this subject. I mean, he is incredible.
And my dad also is very learned in this topic. And so is my dad. He has an opinion that I don't know if anyone else shares his opinion. Everyone, basically, I bring this up because everyone reads and interprets Scripture differently.
Well, yeah. Okay.
That's what the whole point of Scripture is. It's living. It speaks to people differently.
Okay, so our next segment, I get to view one of the games that's on my phone. It's MLB TSB 17. Y'all, this is a Major League Baseball game. You can tell this from the MLB in front of the title.
Sports have weird acronyms. That's
NFL,
all I gotta say.
NBA,
NHL. I haven't seen one for soccer though, man.
I think it's
where's the soccer one?
I think it's
or every other country out there is football. America, our football, because the ball is an oblong shape. That's a foot long. That's why it's called football. That's all you need to know.
Okay, so This game had some really cool graphics to it. Like, it kind of made it seem like you were, like, sitting in the stands watching the guys bat.
That would be fun.
It made me kind of remember some of the games off of PS2 where you were doing that. Except for
didn't
one
go
thing.
to sports, so I wouldn't
Except
know.
for one thing. When they show the crowd, it doesn't look like a whole bunch of cardboard cutouts.
Well, you can only do so much with the PS2 technology.
It really doesn't. When they show the crowd,
I mean,
they
you'd be
kinda,
surprised
like,
with smartphones.
They kind of like they don't do the FaceTime stuff as much as they should. From what I heard, the next game coming out is supposed to be doing a lot more of that. But
Cool.
the thing that I don't like about this game is they don't show your team when they're pitching.
That
They
would be
actually
really hard
show-
for me. That would be a deal
they-
breaker. I'd
they
have to see my
more-
team at all times.
They more or less just show the other team's batters as they're coming up, and they show the pictures.
So
and
it's
they run
more
through
like
the
Age of
pictures.
Empires. There's a little funny quip in Age of Empires. Those who played it, one of the things you can have little hotkeys that have little messages. One of them is, "Yeah, man, you should see the other guys."
But they one of the cool things that I ran into with this was when you're batting, if one of your guys hits a home run, sometimes they'll do a flash in the pan behind him.
That's really weird.
And as he's putting down the bat, you can see him pointing where it's going.
Oh, that's
So
a cool
it's
touch.
it's kind of cool in a way because you can kind of get the idea that, hey, this guy's not Mark McGwire, but he's really good at what he does, and he doesn't need steroids to pull this off. Sorry, Mark.
I don't have any issues with steroids. I think it should be legalized. It's an open access thing. Everyone has just as much access to it anyways. And you know what? Those who use it, there's always going to be someone better than you without it. And it's more of a testament to those who don't use it than those that do. Because if you're that good and you don't need it, awesome.
Okay, and
But I don't think it should be illegal. I
now
think that's
I'm
kinda
going to
stupid.
bash somebody that's coming to the news a lot for this. Okay, Mr. Canseco. This is where the rubber meets the road.
When hasn't he been?
Okay,
used
first
for
of
it?
all, you don't write a book trying to scathe those who never used. He actually put a list in his book. Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle were both on there.
that
They
claims
never took them.
But he's saying that they did.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised no one tried to sue him for it because that's
Both
libel.
families sued him for it,
I hope they
and
won.
they won.
Good.
Now, also, you also have to remember someone else who Maris sued. He sued Coors Beer. His family did. Because they had...
Were they one of the weird elves? I'll sue
No,
you
no.
because
No, see, what happened was Coors didn't give them residuals off of all the endorsements that Roger did. So
that's kind of
they
bad.
went back and they're like, well, you didn't do the residuals, so
Well,
here.
Coors, nothing against it, but if you do something dirty like that, I hope you go under yesterday.
Now,
Just saying.
I'm
Swift
didn't-
with justice.
this is a re-record of one that we previously did. I didn't do this before, but I'm going to add in a little bit of my testimony for you, in case it sounds like I'm a little bit learned on the Bible. I did 3 years of preaching school. I'll just do it that way.
Some go to school,
the
some
one-
don't. That's
one
all I gotta
thing-
say.
The one thing that happened with me, though, was I went to my parents. I was like, look, God's telling me to do this. I really need to do this. And they're like, find a free way to do it because we don't want to pay for it.
Which, honestly,
So-
when it comes to that type of thing, I don't think it should be paid for anyways.
Yeah,
I
but-
think that would go against Christianity
So
itself.
I spent about 2 days going through all this stuff. I found this stuff on Lifeway that was through Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary and went through all of that for 3 years. Okay, that's part of my testimony. So,
He'll get more into it in other detail.
and I'll
Um,
have you riveted. Trust me.
And one of the topics we will eventually talking about, and I'll briefly touch on it, with spiritual vigilance, that also goes with gamer consumer vigilance.
Definitely.
With games these days, and this is one of the big reasons why I turn to emulations, preferably licensed, like I said. I want the game and pay for it all at once. If I want extra, I'll look for downloadable content, which is entirely different. Like, for example, Nintendo. Props to Nintendo. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It has extra content that you can
Downloadable, yeah.
download and you can pay for. You don't need it in the game. It can exist apart from itself
Okay.
without that, but it's an extra thing.
Okay,
For example,
so we're gonna go ahead and use some of the companies' names so they can get a good idea of why we don't like them. EA Sports, definitely.
Yep.
Come on, guys, paywalls.
EA in general, Star Wars Battlefront 2, a lot of people had issues with that.
Paywalls
That's one of the reasons why they're doing this
is they want to keep you hooked on one game, so that way you can't
for
buy
the rest
anymore.
of your life. What that does is it really hurts the gaming market in competition.
Right.
If you know this company back in the 80s called Atari,
yeah, Atari had
with
some bad
the whole
problems
cassette
with this.
games.
Yep.
You know why they crashed and burned? I want to play my friend's game. Oh, look, I got a cassette clone maker. I can make clone tapes.
Yeah, definitely.
Record. Look, I got a full game, and I didn't have to pay them nothing. So, in the same way,
EA and
getting one
Bethesda are
game,
ripping people off doing this.
yes, getting one game and paying for it the rest of their life, and one company in particular that, for some reason, started this hydra that we see today, Blizzard Activision. They're with Activision.
Aha!
They created WoW, World of Warcraft. I know the people in the comments will say, "Oh, you don't have to pay." Yeah, you do. You pay for the game,
and then
you pay for your account, then you pay for anything else in between that you want just because you're too lazy to go farm for the stuff you need. My brother and my dad played this.
Okay, so...
And I saw that and was like, nope, I will not support that. So anyways, I will vote with my wallet and I will say no to half of a game. That's kind of garbage to me, personally.
So we're both kind of experts in realms of history. I'm going to go ahead and go through mine real quick. Mine is Revolutionary and Civil War. I will go through that more in my testimony as to how I got interested in both of them.
I personally always, what sort of drove me was, at first I liked the ancient Roman Empire with Gladiator. Then I saw 300 before I joined the army. And it was my last hurrah, or was it before I got married? Either or. And I loved ancient Greece, and boy,
wow, I got
Sparta
some
was
ancient
awesome.
Greece in my kitchen. Would you like it?
Man. What about that fragile stuff? We need some of that fragile stuff, man.
I'm sorry, it broke.
Oh, man. See, with modern stuff these days, quality's not there anymore, man. Just saying.
Also makes Julian fries. Will not break. Will not break.
Eat the brock.
All right, guys.
Let's see that work. It's good.
All right, guys. So before we get off here, we do have some rules to this. Number 1, be tasteful.
Be respectful. We will block any and all trolls.
Yes.
If I like the art of debate, I know with that whole entire decision I made, that opens the door to a whole lot of people. If you're respectful, you're welcome to make a debate. If you're one of those little trolls that will call me out, oh, but video games and paywalls, it's not so bad. Yeah, it really is. So far, Ubisoft and EA are trying to make a competition.
Okay, guys,
the worst.
And we don't mind you making jokes about Bill Clinton. We don't mind you joking about Obi or the toupee.
We call him the toupee for a reason, but we have variously biased opinions.
Be tasteful.
Yeah, be respectful.
And all conservative Republicans that watch this, be respectful, little conservatives.
We really don't care.
We're both conservatives.
We're don't care if you're respectful.
And we're very respectful of your right to
your opinion.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. It's a free country, but be respectful.
I will say this, and I tell all the people on my Facebook this. If I see one curse word, I block you. If I see anything that refers to any body part in the wrong way, I block you.
Yeah.
In fact, if you even have porno on your page, when I first go through it, I don't even friend you.
Yeah, that's how I was with Google Plus until something happened. Google, I'm watching you.
Santa Claus is watching you. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Ray Stevens throw in. Okay. But yes, I mean, be tasteful, be respectful. I do have nieces and nephews who are young who will probably be watching this, which is part of the reason why I'm saying this. I have people from my church who will be watching this. I don't need them seeing all of these comments and going, what kind of a thing is he on? If you have a comment or a question, fine. But please be a good sport about it.
Yeah. One of the things he's mentioned before, and I tend to agree, the most annoying thing with any and all sports is the rabid fans.
Oh yes.
Don't be a rabid fan.
I'm a former athlete, and I can honestly tell you from an athlete's perspective, the worst fan is the one who's in the stands yelling at the top of his lungs, thinking the ref made the wrong call when he made the right one. We didn't do this at the Thunder Pistons game, but anyway,
they really were making bad
really
calls.
ripped our team off on that one. And any Pistons refs who want to disagree, you're welcome to comment. But I just want you all to know that you're welcome, more than welcome to leave an opinion, a question, a comment. Just be tasteful about it. And yes, we will be looking at comments and questions and all of that stuff.
And I will definitely be more than likely preparing to block anyone who's all for the paywalls in, for example, Assassin's Creed Origins, because that is atrocious.
That's an opinion.
And that is an opinion. But if you're respectful with that opinion, you're more than welcome to have in the comment section.
You are more than welcome to.
But if you're a mindless troll and a drone that just wants to stir up the pot, so to speak, there's a different story.
So let me just say this. If you're looking to hack somebody's page, don't come on here. If you're looking to be a bot, don't do it. I'm just going to quote a song, relax.
You know how reverse psychology works, don't you? By saying all this, you're going to find more than ever, right? Anyways, guys, that's been our video. We will make another one. I know with algorithms as they are with YouTube and all the other social medias, if you like us, put the like. If you feel like subscribing, please do. More power to you. If you don't, that's cool too. But we'll have more content for you to make a better decision eventually. This is our first video, and have a good, wonderful day.
God bless.